To me, James Madison should be the overwhelming favorite in the Sun Belt Conference heading into 2025. And that might come as a surprise to some people, considering the Dukes had a disappointing first season under Bob Chesney. The Dukes went just 9-4 in 2024. Just 9-4. That shows the level of expectations for this program. But now they enter 2025 with tons of excitement, tons of talent, a great head coach, a favorable schedule, to the point where, yes, they are the favorite in the Sun Belt Conference, but if things really go their way, they could flirt with a shot at the college football playoff. Take a look at last year's disappointment. They went 8-4 in the regular season, and look, they had some losses they shouldn't have had, right? You had a 2-point loss to ULM, which definitely hurt, and that 2-point double overtime loss to Marshall in the season finale maybe hurt even more. But James Madison, still 8-4, won their first ever bowl game, 27-17 over Western Kentucky to clinch a 9-win season. And again, they entered 2025 with a lot of talent coming back and a lot of talent they've added through the transfer portal. The offense is loaded, right? They averaged over 33 points per game last year, over 408 yards per game, and this team knows how to run the football. But before I even touch on that, I want to touch on their quarterback. Alonzo Barnett threw for over 2,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, and also rushed for 7 touchdowns. So he's a dangerous dual-threat QB. Will he be ready to go, though, by week 1? Tore his ACL in the season finale against Marshall. Late in the year, late November, obviously a very long recovery time. Bob Chesney says he is ahead of schedule in his recovery time. Maybe could be ready to go by week 1, maybe week 2. So if Alonzo Barnett's ready to go, things are going to be looking great. James Madison is rolling. If he's not, guess what? James Madison's still rolling. Why? Remember the name Matthew Sluka? He made headlines last year at UNLV because he basically, quit on the team after 3 or 4 games. UNLV got off that hot start, but because of some NIL disputes, Sluka said, I'm not playing anymore. UNLV did just fine without him. Sluka is now at James Madison. He actually was the quarterback for Bob Chesney when Chesney was at Holy Cross back in 2023. And there, Sluka completed over 62% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and rushed for over 1,200 yards. So you know what? If Alonzo Barnett can't go, Sluka can go, and he'll do just fine. Point I'm trying to make is James Madison is set at the quarterback position, and that's a dangerous thought because they're also really set at the running back position. George Pettaway returns after rushing for nearly 1,000 yards last year and 5 touchdowns. Behind him, they get Ayo Adeyi back from injury. He was supposed to be a breakout star for the Dukes last year, got injured early, but the year before that in North Texas, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. So Pettaway nearly rushed for 1,000 yards. Adeyi is clearly a 1,000-yard rusher, and Wayne Knight rushed for over 440 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. So whoever's at quarterback is a great, accurate passer and mobile. You've got 3 more than capable running backs that can torch all these opponents on the ground. Yes, James Madison does lose their top 4 pass catchers from last year, and yes, the offensive line needs to improve after giving up 34 sacks, but this is an offense I think can actually be better than what we saw in 2024. Defensively, they are also still very good. They only gave up 20.5 points per game last year, only 322 yards per game. 4 starters are back from last year's squad, and they also add a lot of transfers. One thing that really impressed me about James Madison was on offense, they didn't turn the ball over very much, and on defense, they knew how to take the ball away from their opponents. James Madison finished a ridiculous plus 20 in the turnover margin. So if they keep that up again, it's going to be very hard for any team to beat them in 2025. The defensive line is anchored by Emmanuel Bush, big, heavy set defensive tackle. Going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. Michael McMullen also returns up front. Amar Thomas also returns up front. So the defensive line looking to be very solid. The linebacking core, maybe a strength of the team. Their 5th ranked tackler from last year in Trent Hendrick returns, as does DJ Barksdale. And the secondary looks to be very good as well. Their 2nd leading tackler from last year, Jacob Thomas, returns. Not only was he 2nd on the team in tackles, but he also had 3 interceptions. And they also have Elijah Colpin transferring in from Charlotte, along with a handful of other FCS transfers as well. So, to me, James Madison loaded offensively, great head coach in Bob Chesney, loaded on defense at all 3 levels. No really glaring weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball. They know how to take the ball away from their opponents. This could be a very special year, and you can believe that even more when you look at this schedule, because the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, it's got its teams, right? It's got some good talent in there, but there's no glaring dominant team. App State is not the team it used to be. Coastal Carolina is not the team it used to be. Louisiana should be good, but not amazing. Same can be said for Georgia Southern. There's no true dominant team, I feel like, in the Sun Belt this year, really with the exception of James Madison. And again, they get a lot of really good teams at home, a home environment where the Dukes are 15-3 since joining the FBS just a few years ago. So not an easy place to play. Let's get into it. I'm going to tell you they start 1-1 heading into their bye week. They'll beat Weber State, no issues there. They're going to lose on the road to Louisville, and I don't think many people would disagree with that because the Cardinals are going to be very, very good this year. The Dukes, though, will put up one heck of a fight. Coming out of the bye week, they take on Liberty. This is the first meeting between James Madison and Liberty as FBS teams. Met a lot as FCS teams. Both of these teams recently making that transition to the FBS level. James Madison leading the all-time series 12-6, but all 18 of those meetings, again, coming when they were at the FCS level. I think James Madison loses now. Liberty is one of those teams that's kind of dangerous too. They don't have as great of a strength of schedule within the Conference USA, and last year was definitely a disappointment for them. But I like what Jamie Chadwell's doing with this squad, right? They add Ethan Vasco in from Coastal Carolina. It's an underrated quarterback pickup after losing Caden Salter to Colorado. They have 8 starters back on defense with everybody returning in the secondary. So a really strong secondary, meaning that if Liberty can just sell out on the run, the secondary is going to do their job against the pass, whether it's, again, Barnett or Sluka throwing the ball. Liberty also 13-1 at home under Jamie Chadwell, and yes, they haven't really played that many great teams at home, but that does count for something. I like this Liberty team quite a bit, but without a doubt the top team in the Conference USA, so it could be a battle between 2 future conference champions, but I think with home field advantage, the Flames get the job done. James Madison is 1-2. The sky is falling. It's not looking good, but then you get into conference play, and ironically, for most teams, you kind of freak out when you hit conference play. If I'm James Madison, I'm not. Kind of look at this schedule, and I'm really not that concerned. How unconcerned am I? I think James Madison wins out. And we're going to touch on all these games, don't worry. I'm not that concerned with many of the games that James Madison has to face this year. That's how good I think this team is. Georgia Southern. They lost to the Eagles last year by 14 points. Okay, so that's obviously a game that you have to be weary of, right? Revenge on the mind, now at home. Again, a home slate where James Madison is 15-3 at home since joining the FBS. I look at the Eagles right now. James Madison, the issue last year was their inability to take advantage of turnovers, right? They were +4 in the turnover margin against Georgia Southern last year and still lost by 14. We're still outgained by over 150 yards, right? 405 to 253. They were held to 67 rushing yards in that game. I don't think that's the case now. I think Bob Chesney has a great game plan in place, a way to get the running game going, maybe running enough to set up the pass, maybe a little bit more effective in the passing game. The Eagles still gave up over 170 rushing yards per game last year. James Madison is going to find a way to get the job done now on their home turf. Georgia State, not much of a threat, went 3-9 last year. Defense is still horrendous. They'll improve, but not nearly enough to take down the Dukes. Then they play Louisiana, the top team in the West. It could be the first of 2 meetings. If Louisiana wins their division, you could see these 2 teams possibly meet in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game. But I look at Louisiana. They allowed 154 rushing yards per game last year. It's not really a great mark. They now lose their top 5 tacklers on the defensive side of the ball. And they have a handful of questions on offense after losing a decent amount of starters. So I look at Louisiana. I still think they probably are the favorite to win the Western Division. But do I think they have enough to come on the road and beat James Madison? I'm going to say no. I don't think so, especially, again, with it being on the road. So James Madison wins that. They're 4-2. Old Dominion is probably a major trap game. That's actually a losable game, and that might come as a shock to some. The last 2 meetings between James Madison and Old Dominion, the Dukes have won both, each decided by 3 points. The Monarchs have figured it out. They've played them very, very well. And the Monarchs will have solid quarterback play with mobile quarterback play, a very underrated defense, especially within the front 7. If that front 7 sells out and stops the run, it's going to force James Madison, with a fairly inexperienced core of wide receivers, to win this game through the air. So I would not be surprised to see this game be closer than you think. I think James Madison could be a 7 to 10 point favorite in this game, if not more, and everybody's going to ride that. Old Dominion's probably going to play him pretty close. But I do think the Dukes get the job done, especially with it being at home. If it's on the road, I might pick Old Dominion in an upset. I really might. That's how good I think Old Dominion can be. Not some elite contender, but good enough to maybe go bowling and good enough to hang with some elite teams. But James Madison finds a way. They are 5-2. On the road at Texas State, that, of course, is another losable game for James Madison. Maybe you look at it, maybe the toughest road game they're going to face in conference play. Probably is. But the Bobcats lose quite a bit from last year. You're hoping G.J. Kinney comes in and kind of rebuilds this team through the transfer portal. That's certainly what Texas State is hoping for, because they've been a force to be reckoned with these last couple of years. And this is certainly a game that's going to test James Madison's defense. An elite, fast, high-tempo offense led by G.J. Kinney going up against this very good James Madison defense. To me, defense travels. defense will travel well. And I do question if Texas State, again, defensively can stop the run for a full 60 minutes. I think they get that win. They're going to cruise past Marshall, who, yes, won the Sun Belt last year, but loses their head coach and practically every single player that helped win it. They're all at Southern Miss, by the way. So they should cruise past Marshall, who has a new coach and is in a bit of a rebuild mode, and a revenge game. Even though all those players for Marshall are gone, still revenge for James Madison after losing at home in double overtime last year to the Thundering Herd, and Alonzo Barnett, if he's healthy, revenge game for him after tearing his ACL in that game. So they will beat Marshall. I think they will beat App State, who, yes, they did lose 2 by 14 last year, but App State losing tons once again with the new head coach, only 2 starters back on defense. Definitely have concerns about the Mountaineers this year. Again, not the same team we were used to seeing just a few years ago as being one of the best in the Sun Belt. That's no longer the case for them, at least as of right now. Washington State could be an interesting game, but like App State, like Marshall, maybe like Louisiana, a lot of new pieces for Washington State. New head coach in Jimmy Rogers. A defense last year for the Cougars that gave up 172 rushing yards per game. An offense now for Washington State that's going to run the ball a little bit more. They're going to want to run the ball a little bit more, and James Madison had a pretty stingy rushing defense. So, long road trip, senior day for the Dukes, new coach, a lot of new faces, mostly coming from South Dakota State. I like James Madison to get the job done. And then on the road at Coastal Carolina, the Dukes own the Chanticleers. They owned them. Certainly being on the road is not easy, but James Madison has won 4 straight games over the Chanticleers. Every single one of them have come by at least, not an average, at least 32 points. They beat them 39-7 last year. They beat the Chanticleers 56-14 2 years ago. And Coastal Carolina loses quite a bit again. They should be a bowl team, but they gave up 186 rushing yards per game, 222 rushing yards to the Dukes last year. Even though it's on the road, I do think James Madison's able to get the job done. And they finished the year 10-2, 8-0 in conference play. So yes, they will win their division. They will advance to the Sun Belt Conference Championship. I mean, again, maybe you have them slipping up somewhere. Last couple of years, we've seen James Madison get off to strong starts or be the team that we think could be a favorite in the Sun Belt. They always slip up to a team they shouldn't. Last year it was ULM, or maybe Georgia Southern. I think a couple of years ago it was also Georgia Southern again. So, maybe you have them losing a conference game in there they shouldn't. It could be Coastal on the road. Could be Texas State on the road. Could be Old Dominion, who's played them close. I mean, I would not be shocked to see them go 9-3 with 1 conference loss. Or maybe you think they're going to beat Liberty and lose a conference game, and so they still finish 10-2. But I think 10-2 is probably the correct mark for James Madison this year. 11-1, undefeated, probably not going to be the case. But 10-2, I think right on the mark. They are going to go to the Sun Belt Championship game. Even if they went 7-1, I think in conference play, they're going to go to the Sun Belt Championship game. Playoff bound, probably not. For them to get to the playoff, they're probably going to need to go undefeated or 11-1 with the only loss being to Louisville. But regardless, last year was a disappointment. I didn't think so, considering it was a brand new head coach. Brand new schemes, brand new everything. They did great, and the silver lining and the highlight was winning their first ever bowl game. Now, they can go 10-2. They can win a conference championship possibly. They can go to an even better bowl game. They can clinch an 11-win season. The future, very, very bright for James Madison, and this is going to be one heck of a bounce-back season for the Dukes, who, again, to me, are the overwhelming favorite in the Sun Belt. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Do not miss out on those. The link for it down in the description below, as well as our weekly newsletters, also over on thegridironexpert.com. Go check it out. Sign up for those today. Become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.